Picture this. A lone warrior kneels before the most feared king in Chinese history, carrying the weapons of three legendary assassins and offering to tell a story. This is Hero, the visually stunning wuxia epic that redefined Chinese martial arts cinema. Just as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon opened Western eyes to the poetry of Chinese martial arts cinema, Hero arrived 2 years later in 2002 to redefine the genre entirely. Directed by the legendary Zhang Yimou, this film wasn't content to simply ride Crouching Tiger's coattails. It painted its own path in bold sweeps of red, blue, white, and green, cementing itself as a landmark in world cinema. In Hero, we follow the story of a nameless prefect, played brilliantly by the iconic Jet Li. However, this is no ordinary Jet Li role. Gone is the fiery Wong Fei-hung from the Once Upon a Time in China series. In his place is a man of few words, cold precision, and mysterious purpose. Our protagonist, known only as Nameless, arrives at the palace of the King of Qin, portrayed with icy authority by the talented Chen Daoming, carrying the weapons of three of the deadliest assassins the kingdom's ever known. These are the warriors who have spent years trying to kill the very king Nameless now kneels before. Long Sky, a spear fighter of terrifying reach. Broken Sword, a calligrapher swordsman whose brushwork is as deadly as his blade. And Flying Snow, a warrior whose grace conceals a heart broken by rebellion. For his supposed heroism, Nameless is granted the ultimate honor, to sit within 10 paces of the king himself. Now that's at a distance close enough to whisper his story into royal ears, and close enough to end a dynasty with a single strike. And so Nameless begins to weave his tale, and the film unfolds in a bold Rashomon-style structure across 4 vivid colour palettes that keep us questioning every frame. Now we begin in the sombre black and grey of the palace hall. Nameless opens with his defeat of Long Sky, played by the remarkable Donnie Yen. It is a dazzling spear versus sword duel that unfolds almost entirely in the imagination, as the two warriors, transfixed by the music of the blind musician, exchange dozens of blows inside their own minds before a single sword falls. It is one of the most breathtaking original fight scenes ever put to film. From there, the film erupts into vivid red. As Nameless recounts how he brought down the remaining 2 assassins, he describes arriving at a mountain calligraphy school, where Broken Sword, portrayed by the remarkable Leung, and Flying Snow, brought to life by the wonderful Maggie Cheung. They have taken refuge alongside Broken Sword's devoted young servant, Moon, played by the talented Zhang Ziyi. In this red-drenched tale of passion and betrayal, Broken Sword sleeps with the smitten Moon, and a heartbroken, jealous Flying Snow drives her sword through her lover. Nameless then bests the grief-stricken Snow in single combat. Moon, believing Snow to be the true villain, challenges her master in a swirling yellow autumn forest that erupts into crimson as blood is spilled and the leaves themselves seem to weep red. But then, in a delicious twist, the King of Qin calls Nameless's bluff. This story, he declares, is not true. The palette shifts to cool, contemplative blue, and now the king weaves his own version. In his telling, Broken Sword and Flying Snow are not petty, jealous lovers, but noble warriors who are willing to lay down their lives so that Nameless can get close enough for that strike. Now, this king's hypothesis reaches its emotional peak in a serene lakeside duel between Nameless and Broken Sword, their swords skimming the still waters as Flying Snow watches from the shore, ready to die for the cause. Humiliated but undeterred, Nameless is forced to admit the truth. The screen bathes in pure, dazzling white as we finally see what really happened 3 years earlier. Broken Sword and Flying Snow, having stormed the palace together, stood within a single strike of ending the king's reign. But at that final moment, Broken Sword lowered his blade. And here, in the tranquil green of Broken Sword's own memory, we are shown why. He had glimpsed a greater vision, one of a unified land free from endless war, and he had come to believe that only the King of Qin could bring it about. Using this tip of his sword, Broken Sword writes the 2 words that give the film its philosophical soul in the desert sand: all under heaven. And so, the tension mounts. Will Nameless plunge his sword into the king and avenge his fallen countrymen? Will he heed Broken Sword's philosophy and let one man live so that millions may know peace? And most importantly, is a single sacrifice ever truly enough when the fate of a civilization hangs in the balance? And there's more, my friends. Hero went on to become the highest grossing Chinese film of its era, snagged an Oscar nomination for Best Foreign Language Film, and firmly planted Zhang Yimou's flag on the world cinema map. So there you have it, a review of Hero. This film sweeps us through a tale of loyalty, sacrifice, and the terrible cost of peace, cementing its place as a towering achievement in Jet Li's incredible career. Stay tuned. Cheers, and here's to the next one.